Councilmember Westapple.
Here.
5 are present.
Next, we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Would somebody like to make a motion to adopt the agenda?
I'll make a motion that we adopt the agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and second to adopt the agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. It's adopted. Next, we have public comments. If there's anybody in the public that would like to speak, here's your opportunity. Please identify yourself for the record. Please identify yourself for the record. Not hearing any, we'll move on to scheduled appearances, which we don't have any. Following matters may be acted upon. Individual items which any member wishes to address in greater detail as a separate item on the regular agenda may be removed from the consent agenda upon the request of any council member. We have the minutes from the regular city council meeting from April 10th, 2024. Bartender's license for Jody A. Lovell at Consumers Co-op.
Angie, is this the one who
Yes.
wasn't no longer working? Does she still want an application?
No, we do not. I did not mention that, sorry, Mayor.
Oh, okay, so we'll remove item number B off, or letter number B off there.
Thank you, Sam.
Okay. So again, we just have the one item. Would somebody like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda minus B there.
Second.
We have a motion and second to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion's agreed to. Next, move on to the business agenda, mayor's report, just a few things to talk about. Last week, I went to the DIG Business Expo up at the school. I think they had about 15 businesses or so, went around and discussed. There's a few new businesses that were there. Had the opportunity to introduce myself and talked a little bit about some different things, including somebody who's opening an ice cream wagon, like a food truck that's all ice cream and so on. And the samples were excellent, by the way. We had to try them out. We didn't want to do that. But again, so thanks for DIG for putting that event on. Have had some conversations over the last few weeks about the railroad, the old railroad corridor. Some of the residents along there have had some conversations. The city administrator and I have had some conversations, plus we're checking into a few things about that and some conversations we've had. So that's sort of an ongoing thing, and we're working on that. Had mentioned that hadn't finished off filling out the library board yet. We'll have that ready for those nominations ready for the next council meeting, and we'll get those positions filled. I was waiting to find out on somebody about a reappointment, and we're getting that together. But at the next meeting, we should have the appointments for the library board to fill those spots. Also, would like to thank Brian Winnikins, WRDN. We mentioned about our search for a city administrator. One of the things about putting up on their search site about a message from the mayor, well, they have the information up there, and so before about 6 o'clock, went ahead and he did go ahead and record me in a quick message that's going to be added to their efforts to do that, and he was going to get that to city administrators. He could send it to Mr. Bruner.
Already done.
Already done. And so, again, I'd like to thank you. Hopefully no one looks at that, and hopefully I don't chase anybody away. I was doing that. So. But again, thank you, Brian. Okay, that's all I've got. We didn't bring anything off the consent agenda. Administrator's report.
Piggybacking on the mayor's report on the job or the search for my replacement. So Kevin Bruner he's on vacation now for a little bit, but he did indicate before he left that they do already have 7 applicants. So none of them have been vetted. He didn't share any names, but 7 at this point, and the deadline is the 11th of May. As Mayor noted, the video will be up soon.
And we'd hate to have that number drop to like 3
Exactly,
after
so if it drops to 4 after the...
Before, then we know.
Then that just proves you do have a face for radio.
Yes.
But so that's moving along well, and obviously the process. So Kevin will keep us updated on the process once all the 11th comes and get those resumes and cover letters out to everyone for review. Did want to also note, whether here or later under the fire department meeting, that tomorrow night is the rural fire meeting, and they are going to be, there's an item on the agenda for talking about the ongoing consolidation efforts. So I'm going to be out of the office tomorrow, most of the day, but I will be back for that meeting. So.
And I do plan on attending. If anybody else from the council would like to attend, that's fine too.
Last item, just note that we did have our open book in advance of the board of review with the city assessor, Barry Brenner. And to nobody's surprise, there was no one who showed up, nobody showed up. I did have some discussions with Durand on some other matters. Side of that is, it's an expensive proposition. He was saying already probably $50,000-$60,000 for he and his staff to get in as many properties as they can in the city, to basically look for updates and things of that nature. And then again, update all those property levels closer to the equalized value. And the other big part of that, and again, I'm rambling a little bit on this topic, but especially since I won't be a part of it. But from the standpoint, there's always a big miscomprehension that, well, again, percent below the level that we should be at. If every higher value of, say, 50%, that's where you see tax valuations. And frankly, you see that more like when you have communities that have like lake homes, things of that nature, that, okay, some of the lower level, but then the lake homes are assessed even high because their values have gone up so much more in the last few years. I don't anticipate there's going to be a lot of that in the drain. It should be pretty steady. So again, it should be a pretty level as far as taxes go in the future.
Because we're still under a levy limit. We can only tax so
Exactly,
much.
you can only tax so
And
much.
so at the end of the day, there might be some shifting because
Right.
of some change. But again, it's not like we're doing it because all of a sudden we can get into everybody's pocket and take
Right.
more money out. That's not.
So the education part of it is probably the hardest piece. And there'll be more open books and more meetings for people to come in and talk about their increases.
The one advantage, something we do see coming, so as we make
Right.
our plans for that point, as far as budgeting and figuring out how we're gonna do it, we'll have time to do that. So
Right.
that's the one nice. It's not like all of a sudden they're saying, you gotta put it in next year's budget for sure.
Right.
Okay, we got a couple of years, let's try to figure out how we're gonna do that. So,
Exactly. That's all I have.
okay. Any questions for the city administrator? Hearing none. We've got two resolutions that are coming up. The first one is discussion possible action regarding Resolution 2402, a resolution authorizing the city of Durand to apply for a loan of up to $550,000 from Security Financial Bank for the purpose of financing capital projects, including 6th Avenue, pool, fire, and fire vehicles. The city administrator included an explanation. What these resolutions does is basically, this is like us applying to the extent, this, so that we can go to the bank and say, obviously, these are things that we have discussed in the past, and this is what it's for. So if you'd like to further explain about your conversations with the bank.
Sure.
And the interest rates, those types of things.
I'm actually going to take it one step further, knowing that we got a little bit of a limited agenda tonight. Thought this would be a good time to kind of just talk about our borrowing options as a city as a whole. And there's really just 3 of them. And as I kind of look around the table, so our main borrowing option is when we go out and we issue bonds or notes for large-scale projects. Travis and the mayor, I think, the last time we did this was 2021 for the Third Avenue Laneville project. Prior to that was 2018 for 7th Avenue West. And so that one was, it was $2.9 million that we borrowed. Of that, about half was a refinancing and half was the project itself. So we went out on the open market. That's where we get help from Ehlers. Sean Lenz has been our advisor there for a long time. And through these processes was to get the assistance of Ehlers, Quarles, and Brady. We have to get basically a ratings through S&P ratings. The downside of that is it's an expensive process and it's a long process. So basically for the services of all those people involved, it cost us an additional $60,000 on the project. The plus side is we get way better rates. So in those cases, our rates were for general obligation were below 2%, which is a good thing, especially for a project of that magnitude. Like I said, the other side though, to even just go through the limited, it's the same level of work. It's still $60,000 any way you cut it. The other portion of that, or as I mentioned the refunding piece, the cons of that, as I said, the cost, very, very time-intensive process. And then the other side of it is you can't refinance. Typically, there's a really limited refinancing for those bonds because the people that are going out and buying those bonds, giving the city the money and then reselling them to their customers, banks primarily, they want guarantees over 10, 20 years. So the notes are 10 years, Bonds are 20, we did, both cases were bonds, so they're 20-year notes, or 20-year bonds, I should say. But so they don't, so basically if the rates go down, they don't like to see those refinanced, so you're a little bit on the hook for those. So again, that's a downside, but the main positive of those are the better rates. Obviously, we're not going that route this time. Smaller figures, and I'll explain some other pieces there. Clearly, when we talk about Madison Street, there's no other way that we can really pay for Madison Street and some of our larger street projects without going out on the open market. The next one is an option that the city has taken advantage of in the past, and that's the state trust fund loans through the Board of Commissioners of Public Lands. So basically, that's an agency, state agency, that, just looking up today, so over the last 10 years, they've loaned over $1 billion to just municipalities and school districts in the state of Wisconsin. It's another one, it's a very simple process. It basically approval at the board, fill out some paperwork, and you have your money within 40, 60 days. That's one of the other downside of the other side. It's time consuming. You're at least 4 to 5 months out before you get your money on the open market. The downside of the state trust fund loan is they tend to be higher rates. So I looked back, and so when we were at 2% back in 2021, the state trust fund loans were 4.5%. And so you're talking significant interest piece there, but again, for most municipalities, it's just the easier way to go, especially for lower or for smaller amount of projects. If you want to borrow over $5 million at the state trust fund loan level, you have to get special permission beforehand. But anything under that, typically, you're going to get. So again, we had one in 2018, my first year here. I think that was for like $700,000. But again, it's just an easy way to go. Also, a lot more flexibility. You can prepay these notes. So again, like I said, they're higher interest rates. But what we did on our 2021 borrowing is we refinanced 2 previous state trust fund loans at much better rates, back to that 2% down from the 4% they were at. So that's another option. And the third option is the option we're talking about here tonight, and that's just borrowing from a local lender, just like anyone else would for basically loans of whether it's a mortgage or vehicles or things of that nature. And so the plus side here is the rate we're getting is a little bit less than the state loan, so that's a real plus. They're waiving their fees as well. And the biggest one for us in this one, especially when we talk about the item under 2403, the up to $1 million for the cash flow pool, is there's no other place we could go to get that limited short-term borrowing to get us through the pool project. So this is really the only place that we could really go. And as the mayor said, I've already spoken with the folks at SFB, and so essentially tonight's initial resolution, which is authorizing the borrowing, really just kind of keeps the ball rolling on this. So again, the first one of the $550,000, looking at a loan there, and that would be up to 5 years payback. And part of the reason for the 5 years is, well, it's really twofold. One, what I have included in that $550,000 is roughly $240,000 for 6th Avenue, for the 6th Avenue project itself, for the engineering on the project, and then a little bit of work that Matt has mentioned for 7th, the entrance into the school, to redo that as well. That part, clearly, we're going to have to borrow for. The other 2 pieces, we're going to see about a little bit. I also have $225,000 in there for the final piece of the city's portion of the pool. Again, recall that we committed up to $1 million for the pool. We have already set aside in fund balance $775, so this other $225 would get us to the $1 million for the project itself. And the final piece is just under $85,000 for the buy-in into the rural fire for our vehicles, basically that contract that we approved when the city agreed to purchase the ladder truck in conjunction with rural. And that payment would need to be made before the ladder truck gets here, which I think, according to Chief King, is still late summer, early fall. So that's what I have laid out. When we get the 2023 audit finalized, and again, I promise that will be done before I leave, and both Jonathan and Ethan are aware of that as well. We're gonna have a much better idea of just where we're at for finance, for fund balance. Jonathan spent a lot of time talking about that at the last meeting. There's the possibility that some of this money we could pull from fund balance. So that's why I'm recommending that it's up to $550,000. Within the next month, we'll know for sure where we stand, and then when it comes back to council for the actual amount that we're going to borrow, it's gonna be a figure that's, I'm again guaranteed no more than 550,000, but I'm pretty sure it might be a little bit less than that.
Yeah, because again, if we've got other ways to do that, that's fine. Then the thing that we had discussed with these smaller projects, starting with the Sixth Avenue project, was that we would, the idea was that we would do one of them. This one here, we're talking almost $200,000. Well, how much engineering did, it was?
190 for the
190 for the-
construction and 20 for the
120.
engineering.
And so about $200,000. The idea was that we would go ahead and levy for that in the next budget, pay that off, and then look at the next one, and just have an ongoing thing to continue to do these two-block projects, so we can get these ones that are not gonna fit into a larger project, is the way that we were approaching, especially for the new folks on the council. That was the approach that we were gonna take. So we're not talking about here about monies that we expect to have borrowed for a long period of time. Some of it we're not borrowing, but this just puts us in a situation to make sure we have the cash flow to do that. And that's the reason behind it. And technically, the second one too, when we get to the next resolution, sort of the same thing. Because we have a letter of donation coming in, we don't know when exactly that money's gonna be here, we know when it will absolutely be here, but just to get us those last so many months, and then at that point, we would pay that back, if we needed to use some of that.
And as a reminder on that, so that match, that $1 million match up to, will be paid to us no later than January 31st of 2025. In talking to the group, they're just working on their tax situation. And so it could be paid back even before then. But again, at worst, it's gonna be, maybe a 5-6 month process where we're gonna have to float that loan, so to speak, until we get paid back. So that's not staying on the books very long at all. But
But it should get us through to where we need to be.
right.
As we said. Any questions? Let's talk about the first one, which is the first one I talked about, which is the 550. Any specifically things on that resolution, the O2 resolution?
So from what you just said, it's not written in stone that you're gonna borrow that much?
Yeah. I can guarantee you, we're gonna borrow at least 240 for
Yep.
the Sixth Avenue project, but no more than 550.
Yeah.
Okay.
And again.
Best case scenario, we won't have to.
Yeah.
If we have to borrow some, and then the question is, when we look at our fund balance, can we be in a situation, again, we will find out how that's gonna work at the
And
time.
again, be crystal clear, Mark, this is the authorization to apply. The council will still have the final authorization to actually.
When we actually
commit
do
to
it,
the-
yeah.
To the loan.
But the bank needs this
To
first,
start the process.
to start the process, yeah.
So we had an offer.
What somebody would offer, yes.
I'll offer resolution number 2402.
It's been offered, is there a second? Or a motion, please?
I'll make a motion recommending resolution 2402.
And is there a second?
Second.
And a second. Okay, it's on the floor for any further discussion. Do you quickly want to mention, now the fire vehicles, you're figuring, just to make sure that part of this is for the buy-in, just for the ladder truck, or for the buy-in for the
The
other?
buy-in for all the other vehicles.
For everything?
Yes, so the city's portion so we're partial owners of all.
Of all the vehicles.
Previously, just rural purchase vehicles.
Yeah.
And then we'll have an ownership interest in all the vehicles, including the ladder truck, when it
Yeah.
gets here.
Okay,
Okay.
any more discussion? Comments, questions? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Councilmember Hooker,
Yes.
Councilmember Weisenbeck,
Yes.
Councilmember Weisapple,
Yes.
Councilmember Menke,
Yes.
Councilmember Kavanaugh,
Yes.
all 5 in favor.
Next, we have discussion possible action regarding Resolution 2403, a resolution authorizing the city of Durand to apply for short-term loan of less than 12 months for up to $1 million from Security Financial Bank for the purpose of financing the Durand Community swimming pool project prior to final donations to be received. Again, as we said, not necessarily we're borrowing it, but it gives us the ability to get us through, and that's what this is for. And by the way, I also want to put the thank you in there for Security Financial for working so well with us. I mean, it's good to have a community partner that would do this, And again, they said they're waiving fees, they're doing things, and so I had to throw in the thank you there between these two, and to do that, so.
Would this be limited to just the pool for?
Yes.
Like,
Oh.
let's say the money comes back quicker.
Yeah.
And something else comes up that we need to borrow for. Can this be used for other stuff if an emergency pops up? Or is it just for?
Typically, the way we structure these, Nick, and I think it's written that way in the resolution, is the council could change, but as is written, you're committing yourself to just that. And again, it's more of a state law piece where the state law doesn't want municipalities just borrowing kind of, well, we're gonna borrow $1 million, we're not quite sure we're gonna use it for. So they'd like to be as specific as possible. But again, the council always, but you'd have to act again, obviously.
Sure.
Yeah. Just one other piece I'd want to note about this. We have a lot of discussion, and Jonathan spent a lot of time about it at the last meeting. And I went back and looked, so just even roughly talking about our debt limit. So he was using numbers from 2022. Oh, excuse me. For 2023, we're at about 130 million equalized. We can borrow up to 5% of that figure, that state statute, which is about $6.5 million. Right now, before we do anything here tonight, we have 2.5 million outstanding, so we have capacity of about 4. When we talked about Madison Street, that was north of 4. Therein lies the rub. But please note that this short-term million, again, will be off the books no later than January, so that will not impact anything to do with Madison Street for 2025 or any future years. And as the mayor noted, even the 550 or whatever, if we borrow that much, that's gonna get paid back over probably 2 years. 3 years most. The Security Financial is giving us 5, but I would, we gotta get that off the books as quick as possible so we can move forward with some of our bigger projects. So that's all been accounted for.
So remember how we said for the pool, we're spending our money, first is the money that's been donated, and we're gonna work our way through, of course, the city, and then we have the city, what the city commitment is out of the fund, we go to that second, and then finally, this would be the last group, of course. So again, hopefully to keep that period of time as short as possible.
Worst case scenario, again, so this is also a 5.6% loan. Worst case scenario, it might be $8,000 to $10,000 that we have to pay for interest. I did bring up the potentiality of waiving and.
Thank you for trying.
Yeah. Again, as you know, the mayor, obviously, the fees and the working with us is certainly much appreciated.
Okay. Any quick questions concerning Resolution 2403?
How are we on track right now?
As far as, well, it's quite early. We don't
Yeah,
have
I
this-
mean, didn't we just approve a bill last time that we paid on?
Tonight actually would be the.
Yeah, tonight's really the first one, but we did have one for, I forget what it for, it's like one of the state.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of little bills that are coming through that actually aren't part of the contract. Like you probably saw a Durand Builders bill that was for We Energies. Some of the smaller stuff that we would normally pay for, we ran through builders because it could get paid quicker and then they just submit. So you would have saw like a We Energies bill, you would have saw an asbestos testing bill, asbestos removal on a couple items, and then that was probably about
a couple more here tonight.
Yeah, a couple more here tonight that you're gonna see that was still part of the pool project, but over and above the first pay request.
Okay.
Those are things that we would normally just pay for, but we ran them through builders because it was just easier for builders to pay for it because it was in their name. They requested all the disconnects and then we just paid for it off through an invoice from them.
Okay.
Any other questions? Somebody like to offer the resolution?
I will offer resolution 2403.
Do we have a motion?
I'll make the motion to approve resolution 2403.
And do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have it's been offered, there's been a motion, there's been a second. Okay, it's still on the floor though for any other discussion, comments, concerns on resolution 2403. Hearing done, roll call please.
Councilmember Weisenbeck.
Yes.
Councilmember Hooker.
Yes.
Councilmember Kavanaugh.
Yes.
Councilmember Menke.
Yes.
Councilmember Weisapple.
Yes.
All five in favor.
Motion's agreed to, resolution is passed. Next, we'll move on to Public Safety, Police Department, Chief Ridgway.
Last week, Brandon, Sam, and I attended the health department's presentation that they have at the school. Had a very good guest speaker up there, so I appreciate them bringing that person in. And it was a good event. Our bike rodeo is set for May 17th at Caddy Woodlawn Elementary School. Brandon and I and some of the other officers will be up there teaching safe biking skills. We'll be up there all day. And then just an update on Jocelyn Crothers. We finalized all the hiring process with her. She graduates from CBTC on May 16th, and then she'll be attending the academy on May 20th for us. So you'll see her out and about this summer, working some part-time shifts for us at special events and things like that. But so we're excited to have her in our department as well. So that's all I have.
Any questions for the Police Department? Thank you. Anything for fire?
No, as I mentioned, the rural fire. Man, I was gonna ask, so we ordered the generator, but it's not here yet.
Generators here actually started getting installed
Oh, okay.
today.
There you go.
A few days to, some weeks to install?
Yeah, so we got the old generator out, the new generator in, some of the electrical panels switched over. We're to the point now where we have to wait for Excel to come and cut the power to the building so we can remove the main power supply, mount the panel, and put the new power supply back in. So we were hoping tomorrow, maybe Friday, but if it's raining on Friday, it'll be early next week. So.
Anything for ambulance?
Nothing from ambulance.
Public Works Utilities, Superintendent Gillis?
Yeah, Russ is out tonight, he's on vacation, so pulled double duty. A couple things, 6th Avenue, the contracts have been signed. I think the mayor signed his portion of them tonight, so everything is ready to go for 6th Avenue. We'll have a pre-con meeting. We'll get that project going soon as school gets out, so that's moving along. The pool, we're still waiting for state building permits. We got the early start on the building permit, but we still need the plumbing and the electrical before we can actually start on the building. The plumbing has to deal with all the pipes through the foundations and stuff, so still waiting on those. Hopefully everybody's pretty much chomping at the bit to get going. So first round of brush cleanup commenced today. Guys went around and did their first round with the brush and the leaves. Everything went well. Little down this year, lighter than it has been in the past, but we still got essentially 2 weeks left. So get your brush and your leaf piles out there before May 5th, whatever that Sunday is. 5th, yes. Hydrant flushing has started. Want to let everyone know that you may be experiencing brownish water. It's not bad water. It's just when we start flushing hydrants, we loosen up a little rust and iron deposits in the mains. Run your cold water tap in your house for a few minutes until that goes away. Everything will be fine. Try to stay away from washing clothes if we're flushing hydrants in your neighborhood. That rusty water may stain your clothes. So they just started that yesterday. We're only not even a third through the list. So that'll be running the rest of this week and into probably the middle of next week before that's done. Ash tree program, the letters were sent out for ash trees. First notice was due back at the end of March. Sent out a second notice, which was due back last Friday. We received all of the contracts from the residents except for one resident. I have not heard from one resident. So we had 16 trees scheduled to be cut in boulevards. Without that resident, we'll be cutting down 15. So I notified Timber Ridge that they can commence that cutting. It's looking probably like it'll be the end of May, beginning of June before they get to town to start doing some of that work. But we're moving forward with that program.
And after those are gone, how many we got after?
In
In
boulevards, we should probably only have one or two. The ones of the residents who do not respond to the letters will be the only ones out there that will have left. There'll probably be like 3 of them in boulevards, according to.
So in the whole scope of things, pretty close to
Yeah,
finished.
pretty close to being finished. So the rest of them out there are, but they're not necessarily in the boulevard, so they wouldn't be eligible for this program. But we still have probably close to 20 between Tarrant Park and the cemetery that are going to eventually have to come down. So we'll still be going for the startup grant for the next couple of years, trying to get our park trees taken care of.
Can you remind us what if they don't, like, once we take it down when it gets bad enough, or what's?
So if you don't respond and you don't take advantage of this program, you are ultimately responsible. Our ordinances read that the property owners are responsible for the tree in their boulevard. So basically, the city would then write you a letter saying your tree is dying. It's a public nuisance, a public hazard. You have X number of days to take it down. If we get no response on that, then you're in a violation of our ordinance, possible citation from the police department, and then the city hires someone to take the tree down, bills you, and essentially puts it on your tax roll if you don't pay the bill. So that's how the process goes. So I'm urging residents to take advantage of this program. You're essentially getting your tree cut down for a quarter of the cost that would it normally. It's $600 to take the tree down. DNR grant's paying for 50, the city's paying for a quarter, and you're paying for a quarter. Is essentially how the breakdown works. So.
Okay. Anything else?
Nope. We're still working on just starting to work on engineering for the water plant too as well. So.
Any questions for Public Works and Utilities?
How's the water plant holding up?
It's working. We lost an airline in one of the cells here a couple months ago. I think if you remember me telling you that. Other than that, we're just kind of pacing and maintaining. So it definitely needs some rehab done to it.
Any other questions? Next, we have discussion possible action regarding pay request number 1 from Durand Builders Service Incorporated for the swimming pool project in the amount of $76,448.40. It was included in your packet. This is, of course, Matt, this has been reviewed and the work has been done and everything?
Yes, everything is good to go.
Members, and again, and for the new members, of course, although Leanne, I'm sure that you've been through government contracts and how they work, and as the work gets done, they go through and they do that, then our engineering firm double checks everything, and then we pay the percentage that, or pay the amount. Do we hold anything back on these?
5%.
And 5% is held back for anything in that particular case, so.
You see on the second page, it's just going to give you kind of a general idea of the status of the project, kind of the 16 key points of the project and where they're at and where they fall in their budget. So as you can see, we're just basically in general conditions and site work is basically what this pay request is for.
Later in the summer, there's going to be a lot bigger ones. Okay, any questions on that?
One more thing I noticed is that, so I have worked out a pay reimbursement process with the swim club's treasurer, and so basically it's going to work out. It's just going to be, council approves it tonight, I give her the go-ahead, and she transfers the money to our account. So, smooth still.
Instead of going through checks and blah, blah, blah.
And so, as the mayor was saying earlier, obviously, so roughly the first $1.7 million of the project will be paid that way, reimbursed through what the swim club has in their accounts right now, and then move into some of our money, and then so on down the line.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would somebody like to make a motion to approve the pay request?
I'll make a motion to approve pay request number 1 from Durand Builders Service for the swimming pool project in the amount of $76,448.40.
Second. Second, we have a motion and second. Is there any more discussion? Let's take a roll call on that.
Councilmember Menke.
Yes.
Councilmember Kavanaugh.
Yes.
Councilmember Weisenbeck.
Yes.
Councilmember Weisapple.
Yes.
All five in favor.
Motion's agreed to, pay request is approved. Okay, let's pay the bills. And one of the things about it is when you do go through the bills, you will see one in there from US Aquatics. And when I went through the checks and I did ask about that, that's still some of that little stuff that we're working on, you know, that, and so on. So there will see a few little things in there for those.
The US Aquatics bill is the,
It's like $4,000.
yeah, it's the 1,800 of it is the state building permit for the pool. Like 400 or 500 of it is the state building permit for the plumbing, and then the state building permit for the electrical is the remainder of it. So, all within the contract that we signed that is over and above what we, what is US Aquatics pays for and your builders pay for.
And just a reminder that this coming Tuesday, the 30th at 4 p.m., 4 to 6, we're going to have a board of review. The 3 council members are Raisler, Weisapple, and Menke.
Yep.
And just remember, we do have to sit here for the full 2 hours. We'll think of something to talk about.
I'm sure you'll have a story.
Oh,
No.
Just one?
you guys don't need any public works or safety, any?
Probably have Public Works coming up, I would venture to say next month sometime as we kind of work through the Madison Street and the water filter project.
Let's do some extra work over here.
The president pays for.
And remember, if you have any question about anything you're signing, just ask. We got people up here to answer. A lot of stuff is pretty self-explanatory. So.
I didn't tell you that it comes out of your.
Remind everybody, of course, that Fun Fest has put out their posters and everything. Looks like they have things pretty well set. I saw some reaction out there. People like the dweebs are coming back to town. They haven't been here for a few years.
I think it's gonna be a little bit smaller this year, just because.
Yeah, Chris Cruzy, that's,
But he is coming to one of the meetings.
yeah, I see that.
I do have fire department raffle tickets if anyone's interested.
Well, I've already had one round. I probably would take a second round.
Take checks.
Of course. We even take plastic.
So we take, yeah.
Checks in the mail.
Confederate dollars, though.
I said, pull it back.
What's that?
What's the
Let's
price
say
for
American
that
Express.
So
By the
there's
way,
10
can you
guns
put
on there.
I don't want it.
And then shoulder
You ever got a Visa or Discover?
I think is it the national parks that are getting sued because they don't take cash anymore?
300 tickets for.
Are they being
I didn't hear
sued?
that.
I think so, they
Yeah, I
only
think
take,
so, because they went cashless, yeah.
yep, they went cashless, and they're getting sued now.
Oh, I hadn't heard that. Okay.
$20 for
It's about like McDonald's, because they don't know how to make change.
What says on the screen?
Yeah, well,
They still- you
and
gotta
they still
tell-
can't come,
Yeah,
unless it
one
shoots it in their
quarter,
hand. They have those ones. Thank God they have those,
There's
because
another one up there, figure out too.
It's not-
Pen,
When
his
my-
pen
when my
ran
pen
out.
went out.
Well, he's been signing it.
Is there any updates on that gas station? I think I saw, I see a pop truck or like a solar truck there.
They're close.
And as we know, we have a different application
For the liquor license.
for the liquor license. It's actually gonna be, and that'll be coming up
The next council.
at the next council meeting. So we'll have to do the quick public hearing and the whole thing with
Why that guy quit already, or?
they're leasing it.
Leasing it.
He's listening.
Oh.
But they are selling gas at the pumps.
I see that.
I think the store's open. I just don't think they're selling.
Brian, did you say you were in there today?
For what?
In the BP?
Yeah.
The store's open?
No, no, they're still setting it up. I
They're
just
still
wanted just to
open.
visit them and say hi and welcome.
Gotcha.
When's that fitness center opening?
I don't know. Looks like got some equipment, got equipment stuff in there.
I just
Looks like
saw
it's
the
all
sign.
set up, looks good.
They have a website on the sign, don't they? don't
I
think it's
looked at the
working
sign,
now.
but I was driving by, so I didn't. I just kinda glanced at it and went, oh, hey, I'll check that out.
Maybe we can go in the Arrowhead banquet on Saturday?
They still have their duck,
Do you?
duck.
As far as I know, they
Yeah,
still
they
have
go
to
out
have.
there, they shop out at the.
Would someone like to make a motion to approve the
Might have a
vouchers?
couple different
I'll make a motion that we approve the vouchers as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the vouchers. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Weisapple.
Yes.
Councilmember Menke.
Yes.
Councilmember Weisenbeck.
Yes.
Councilmember Kavanaugh.
Yes.
Councilmember Hooker.
Yes.
All five in favor.
Motion's agreed to. They are approved. Anyways, we said board review on Tuesday, next regular meeting on the 8th of May. If there's nothing else, would somebody like to make a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I'll second.
Second.
We have a motion and second to adjourn. All those in favor?